Hey astrology friends, today the 17th of April 2023 and we're in the eclipse week. We're in eclipse season and now it's getting really hot because on the 19th or 20th, depends where you are on planet Earth, will be the rare hybrid total slash annular, or also known as ring of fire, solar eclipse on the cusp of Aries to Taurus. Lots of phenomena with that eclipse because it's the second new moon in Aries. Two new moons have or are framing Aries this year. The first one was on the very first degree of Aries at 1 degrees Aries, one day after the spring equinox on the 21st of March. And now we have the second one barely in Aries at 2950 Aries on the 19th or 20th, and it's also an eclipse. It's one of the two exact new moons of the year that form eclipses. The second one will be on the 14th of October. Let me verify that. That will be the one in Libra. 25 Libra, the annular, that will be another annular solar eclipse, 14th of October. And why eclipses? What are eclipses? Eclipses happen when sun, moon, and earth are in exact alignment, so that in this case, the new moon is exact, so the moon is exactly covering the disk of the sun. How cool is that? That here on planet Earth, we can have this dynamic of the moon much smaller than the Earth and way smaller than the sun. From our perspective, as a new moon can be exactly in front of the sun to cover the solar disk. So in other words, solar disk and lunar disk can be exactly the same size from Earth perspective. These two energies of yin and yang that sun and moon, or moon and sun in this case, represent, they need to be balanced. We are the alchemists here, conscious alchemists of polarities. Also, a theme with Gemini, where Venus is now. Venus is now in Gemini since the 10th of April, Monday, last week, until May the 7th. So anything Gemini gets now activated, magnetized, and drawn attention to, so that we are bringing the polarities together with love, being the alchemists of love. What's with the eclipse? So the eclipse happens, as I said, many attributes to that eclipse. It's so to say the blue new moon in Aries, because it's the second one, super rare. It's an eclipse. It's a hybrid eclipse. So it depends, as I suspected in the last video, it's true. So it depends where you are on planet Earth on the eclipse path. You experience, and the eclipse path will be mostly over the Pacific Ocean and Australia and Antarctica. So where you are on planet Earth, let me just check that out here again with what you can also do yourself to find out more about the eclipse path, the exact time of the new moon or the eclipse, is go to the site that I like and typically link to and refer to a time and date, timeanddate.com. So it will show the total solar eclipse on April 20th, most parts of planet Earth, in other words, east of, most, so to say, because east of Central Standard Time. The new moon will be at 9:12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time. So Eastern Standard Time, in other words, on the 20th at 12:12 a.m. So anywhere Eastern Standard, Eastern Daylight in this case, and east of the eclipse will be on the 20th. Anyway, and the maximum eclipse just 5 minutes after the exact new moon at 9:17 p.m. Pacific Daylight Saving Time. So in other words, the closer the maximum eclipse to the exact new moon is, the more totality of an eclipse you get, of a solar eclipse in this case. And the eclipse path, as per time and date, will be over Australia and also Southeast Asia, right? So that is Bali, Java, all of that, and Borneo, yeah, and Indian Ocean, Pacific, and Arctica. So you can see totality in southeast, in sort of in Western Australia, and yeah, it's not very populated areas of the planet where the totality can be seen. But check out that eclipse path, and typically where the eclipse path is in those countries and areas, the effects can be also strongest. And the effects of eclipses, they don't just show up with that new moon or for the lunar cycle, but extend longer. And there's also eclipse cycles, the Saros cycles. You can look those up. So it's the eclipses repeat themselves. It's very interesting. My screensaver, to Mercury retro. My screensaver with random pictures just literally showed Uluru in Australia. So definitely at Uluru, the eclipse can be seen as a partial one. And wherever you are on that eclipse path, as I said, it depends whether you see it as a total or annular, which is super rare. What's with the annular one? With the annular eclipse, the most annular eclipse we recently had was on the 26th of December, Boxing Day 2019 in early Capricorn, with a lot of Capricorn energy then. And it was that ring of fire eclipse that showed the ring of fire is also called the corona of the sun, which made me at the time research what's the meaning of the naming of the coronavirus. The coronavirus was literally named after the corona of the sun. And how interesting that a lot about that emerged just after the ring of fire corona solar eclipse in early Capricorn. Basically also bringing out a lot about the old empire, as I call it, right? Anyway, we are now 3 years later, yeah, 3.5 years almost later, and we're having another ring of fire total slash annular solar eclipse, and that eclipse will be in square with Pluto also. Let me just show you the chart here, what I mean by all of this. So eclipse shows up. An eclipse is identifiable in the chart if you have a new moon that is super close to one of the nodes. In this case, the north node in early Taurus. The eclipse, the new moon itself, will be, as I said, at the very end of Aries, 2950, while the north node is over here in early Taurus. So everything here happens on this Aries-Taurus cusp, another special quality of that eclipse. Not only that, you also have lots of energy here in Aries and in Taurus. So the eclipse, the new moon, bridges all of that. let's get into that a bit. And also what's with the cusp. The cusp from Aries to Taurus, I call that the settling point. That is where energy settles, where spring settles in finally after the fiery but also very inconsistent and still spring is starting with Aries. In a way, life is showing up and battling for life. All these beings, all these plant beings and humans also want to come back to the light, want to come back um, to the warmth, to the warm season, and to the seasons of joy and growth. But it's not fully happening yet with Aries. Everything's just starting. And with Taurus, everything is taking roots, consolidating, literally finding our place, also where we find joy in nature, in our own embodied self. And so Taurus brings grounding, the first earth sign of the zodiac. Grounding, nature, Taurus rules nature, slowing down after the Aries rush. So for that what's the juncture here, right? Um, Finding a place. It's almost as if you're buzzing around somewhere in town, let's say, and then you're sitting down um, in a cafe or in a restaurant with a friend. And now it's like, okay, now we found our place. Let's enjoy our company. Let's enjoy food. Let's enjoy life and take it all in. So Taurus wants us to settle down. And where is our place? How do you feel also comfortable in your body? So really it's embodying spirit. While Aries is a lot about spirit showing up, and new life is coming forth. And with Taurus, it is actually manifesting and blossoming. It's the time of blossoms. Taurus is ruled by Venus, while Aries is ruled by Mars. So we're having this juncture also of Venus-Mars, right? I said before, alchemy of polarities, or bringing these qualities together, the yin-yang. And the eclipse here, as I said, draws energy in from Aries and from Taurus. What's going on from the Aries side? What's going on in the Taurus side? On the Aries side, you have Chiron and Jupiter. They were together. Jupiter passed Chiron on March 11th this year. Happens only every 13 years. And so this Chiron theme is really big, and a lot of revelation, a lot of understanding, a lot of growth wants to come from it, says Jupiter. And the Chiron piece in Aries since 2019 has a lot to do with wounds and intended healing and new approaches when it comes to medicine. So there's been lots of wounds, there's been lots of rush, there's been lots of fight for survival for so many reasons. And what really is the medicine? What's the wound here? Is the wound the ongoing rush and competition and aggressive qualities, right, in life and in society and with one another and with our bodies? Are we too aggressive and violent, actually, right? Are we waging war? Is the medicine, the current medical model, a lot of war medicine that has all these campaigns and attacking the perceived enemy, right? So that piece versus, hello, we need to outgrow this. What is wholeness? Are we fighting a fight? Are we fighting a battle within our bodies? Are we divided? Are we actually ourselves sort of polarized and not in tune and not in harmony and not in wholeness. So there's lots going on here in the whole world of medicine and healing, and also what can be a good new healing quality, authenticity for sure, right? Aries showing up, new approach, being, yeah, being basically showing your true face. Aries rules of face, and Aries says, face this new situation, face what's in front of you, right? Rather than hiding or being, you know, from a Libra side, being, yeah, try being on the fence, not being clear what to do, what to decide. Aries says, just go for it, do it if it feels right, if it is an adventure, but also you want to be gentle with yourself, you don't want to be too harsh. And that's what Mars in Cancer says. Mars in Cancer actually will go into square with Chiron in Aries in the next while. That will be on April 27th, but it's building up. And Mars rules Aries, right? So there is, and the square is also a Martian aspect. So there's a lot of tension here going on, conflict potentially regarding how we take good care of our needs in a gentle and compassionate way, and of our feelings when something acutely wounds or hurts us, right? And Mars in Cancer is also mama bear energy, mama, papa bear, right? That's the quality of being very fiercely protective of the young, the little ones, the children, the babies, and yeah, and maybe even fighting on behalf of them. Or it can also have to do with your inner child. Stuff comes up. And yeah, so that whole Dalai Lama incident is very apropos. Mars in Cancer, square Chiron in Aries, but also Mercury going retro in Taurus. Don't want to comment in terms of my personal impression and opinion about it, just point out the archetypes. So the Dalai Lama has a sun in Cancer where Mars is now. And mid-Cancer, I believe his birthday is on the 5th or 6th of July. And he will also turn 87, and that will be his third Saturn return. But on the Cancer side, so there's a lot of controversy now. Cancer, yeah, my religion is compassion, is his motto. And then there's a whole question of Mars, of this male interaction that looked sexual. And is it a sexualization, or what was going on here? And what was triggered in all of us? Why did it trigger so much? What's the wound here? And what could be early wounds with Chiron in Aries that are calling through this situation to be addressed? Then Mercury, I just mentioned, will go retro and is now in Mercury retro, pre-retro storm, Mercury in Taurus. Taurus rules the body, right? So it's also about the communication through the body, literally body language, and misunderstandings, or very instinctual understandings that don't need to be intellectualized, right? So there's several sides to all of this, right? And it's bottom line, it's about being mindful, right? And noticing what the mind does. Is this a trick of the mind, or is this something that has to do with consciousness, with spirit, with not spiritual bypassing, right? And what is really going on? So I don't think the whole thing is already resolved, honestly. I would say the Mercury retrograde phase will still be about processing this. And it's not just about this specific incident, but about so much that it evoked the symbolism of it, the dynamics here, right? Lots of processing. Anyway, what else is going on with the eclipse? As I said, on the Taurus side, there is Mercury retro, and Mercury goes retro on the 21st of April until May 14th, and just before Mercury meets Uranus. Or, it does not quite meet Uranus, and then it goes retro. That's what I mean, right? So, but it hovers, it's very close to Uranus. And in other words, stationary Mercury in wide conjunction with Uranus here this week, and even into next week, right? All around the 21st of April, which is also the first full day of Taurus. And so what's with this Mercury? What's with Uranus? Uranus in Taurus also since 2019. Started a little bit 2018, but mostly fully since 2019 and until 2026. So here is a parallel course of Mercury, of Uranus in Taurus and Chiron in Aries, both since 2019 until 2026 or 2027. Uranus in Taurus is challenged because there is a lot of disruptions happening to nature, to biology, to habits, to comfort, a lot of shifts, a lot of unease, right? So, and discomfort, really, right? Lots of, you never know what comes next. So it's basically a disruption of stability. How can that be met and integrated in a very productive and, in fact, liberating way? So the point of Uranus is about liberation, revolution, and freedom. So how can you embody freedom? And what does your body say, right, about freedom? Uranus is the planet that says, I'm out of here. It's in the birth process, the last planetary archetype symbolically that comes up when the baby comes out of the womb and out of the matrix, and matrix literally means womb, and the umbilical cord is cut. So there's an independent being is here taking their first breath, right? So yeah, so that freedom, right? So where does your body and where does nature take you to find freedom? That is unconditional, and that brings joy, and so on. That's why I also called the motto, the working title of this hybrid solar eclipse, linking to Uranus and Mercury in Taurus, but also linking back to Jupiter and Chiron Aries. Call it, yeah, there's more to it, right? Because it's a square to Pluto as well, which I go in a second. So it's planting seeds for creating, or rather co-creating, a new earth medicine in joy and freedom. What is the new earth that nobody can create themselves, right? So we are not creating the new earth. The new earth is in becoming, and we can join the new earth and support the new earth and make choices that are supportive rather than destructive, as we've had over decades, centuries, and millennia, right? Destroying the earth. So what needs to be freed up here? And all same goes for the body, right? For the human body, for nature, for biology. And there's lots of new approaches with biology, with nature, with gardening, with food production, or rather growth, right? The production is the industrial model, and being with nature while nature grows for us, with us. That's a co-creative experience, and the co-creation, of course, also comes through Aquarius, where Pluto is now. So Pluto in Aquarius, in early Aquarius, stationary. What do I mean by that? Pluto goes soon retrograde. Pluto is the second planet that goes retrograde after Mercury. Mercury on the 21st of April and Pluto on the 1st of May. So this is also a turnaround phase here now, where we were in a phase since 22nd of January. We've been in a phase where no planet was retro, and now the first two go retro, right? So what does that mean? Pluto going retro on the 1st of May until October 10th. And that's in the making. And when a planet is stationary also, that brings a lot of focus to that energy, to that archetype. So there's also a strong Pluto vibe is in the air right now. And that has to do also with a shift of eras, if not ages, all right? So we're coming out of this Capricorn hierarchical top-down model and divide and rule model, and basically the authority on top, and the top-down structures, right, of all kinds, right, whether societal, political, religious, because we're also coming out of the Pisces age into the Aquarius age, where it's about sharing, where it's about community. And this is what Pluto heralds on the very cusp of Aquarius. And Pluto is now going into, or the eclipse is going into square with Pluto. And so there's a strong charge here, right? So Pluto in Aquarius, a lot about community, humanity, co-creation, and the shadow of the Aquarius impulse also being technology taking over, technocracy, rulership of the artificial intelligence, so to say, and so on, right? So how can we become immune to that? How can we be not buying into it, right? Because the Aries Taurus can be also an impulse to, it can be literally shopping impulse. So impulse to manifest. And do we really need to go for that? Do we need to go that hyper technology route? Or are there other ways of building networks that are more organic, says Taurus. Okay, so as I said, lots going on with the eclipse. That is the dominant news of the week, and also Mercury going retrograde, reminding us of being mindful, especially in the storm now, as we are unraveling the thought and intellect and mental dominance in a way, right? Also, Mercury is now ahead of the Sun. I can show you that here too, right? Clearly, Mercury in early Taurus, ahead of the Sun in Aries. The phase when Mercury is ahead of the Sun, that's the Epimethean phase. And basically, it has a lot to do with old, epos is like epic, right? Old stories, and that are just rehashed and recycled in the mind. And while in fact, and the mind loves that, to be in a driver's seat, to tell us over and over these stories. So to be conscious of that and step back, right? Do something that is not so mentally driven, that has more to do with nature, has more to do with joy, has more to do with bodily sense perception, and yeah, so that Mercury retro also feeds into the eclipse, and vice versa. That's it for today. One last word about the moon. Yes, okay, today the moon is void of course. So a long void of course day. We had that yesterday, not yesterday, a few days ago too, on Saturday. And today the moon is in Pisces, void after being conjunct Neptune, and will be entering Aries this evening, where the eclipse will be, right? So this evening at 6:09 p.m. the moon enters Aries. Then tomorrow, all day, the 18th, the moon in Aries, but at the same time also dark moon. It's not your typical Aries moon energy like the one at the spring equinox, all different. So this is about releasing, right? This would be a wonderful time to do a release ceremony before this exact new moon, partial, annular, or even total solar eclipse energetically happening anywhere on planet Earth, whether you see it or not. So to do a release eclipse, to do a release ceremony, either on the 18th tomorrow, or even on the 19th, just before the eclipse. And then after the eclipse, it's time to plant new seeds. But the release ceremony can have to do specifically with the Aries themes, which can be being too, especially the Chiron piece, right? Feeling all alone, feeling like you're the only one here, and or the first one, and nobody gets you, and yeah, so qualities of being too a solo, basically, and at the same time, certain qualities also of that help you to be authentic. So what if that has been actually hurting and hurtful? That would be the wound with Chiron. Also early wounds in life, right? It would be wonderful to bring together items, write a letter, and wrap it up, offer it to the fire or to the water if you like, but fire especially, be safe, and because it's a fire sign. And yeah, and maybe the ashes can literally go into the earth, which would be perfect for Aries, Taurus, and for Earth to for fire to Earth. So, and then a wonderful seed, since it's a seed eclipse, it plants new seeds. It comes with a north node, the eclipse does. And so it would be also a good time, alternatively or together, to do a ceremony for planting new seeds, about a vision, the vision you have, which is late Aries has a Sag undertone, right? Vision, trust, and to move into joy, to move into freedom. Taurus, Uranus, right? Okay, and then the moon actually goes into Taurus. That will be shortly after the eclipse on 20, for us here on the West Coast, still on the 19th at 9:30. So just 17 minutes after the new moon. The moon goes into Taurus already. As I said, it's all on the cusp. And will be in Taurus on the 20th, which is also the first day of Taurus. So Taurus starts at 1:14 a.m. Pacific, daylight savings time on the 20th of April, and goes until the 21st of May. So Taurus season, happy birthday all you Taurians. I wrote a little Insta tile and also Facebook post for the Astro highlights of Taurus, and you can find it on my Facebook page. Yeah, so Taurus season starts, and it's also eclipse season. There's a lot going on here this year with Taurus. And the moon will be in Taurus on the 20th, 21st, and on the 22nd, Earth Day, the moon enters Gemini at 3:11 a.m. Pacific, and will be in Gemini over the weekend until Monday, the 24th, around noon. So with the new and young and fresh moon in Gemini, it's a wonderful time for for renewal in spring, for sharing, for connecting with others, for being in comunicado with Gemini, right? And I will be at an Astro party doing astrology at a birthday party on the 22nd. And there'll be lots of participants, lots of diversity, and we can take it lightly because it's Gemini. So we have a light touch on all these participants or guests' charts and tuning in to whatever is coming up specifically for each one of the ladies this spring. And that's very Gemini, right? So we don't have to go so heavy and so long, right? And yeah, so Gemini, Taurus energy is a bit like birds and plants or trees. A beautiful combination. Go to nature, talk to nature, um, and be in a place of delight. Hopefully by then it's also warmer here on the West Coast than at your place, and we can really enjoy the spring and be out and about. And then the moon goes on the 24th next week, next Monday, into Cancer around noon, and from then on will be the next video Astro News. So no need to go into that. I wish you well for this week, and jump through the ring of fire, come out renewed and liberated. Cheers.